All right, this is why we are reducing the use of the word organic when in connection to our farm. My name's Chip Taylor. I'm here in Zalisa, Ukraine, and Meninsky Oblast. We've got a small 2 acre farm where we grow right now specifically spices and peppers and tomatoes and things like that for Mexican food. And I've been involved in organics since 2000 or since 1987. And so I've got some experience at it. And, when we first got started, the movement was really starting to roll. And I became aware of a gentleman by the name of Joel Salatin, who's up in Virginia. And he does pastured poultry and egg and meat bird production. And I had a small farm that was 6 acres in Scriven County, Georgia, and didn't have a lot of equipment, didn't have a lot of money, certainly didn't have a lot of labor. And so egg production was the right thing for us to do. But that was when we started the eggs, that was in 2007, end of 2007, early 2008. And our main customers were through farmers markets, that kind of stuff. And we did a couple of things. I would deliver eggs to your house. We also made, y'all probably heard of this, Amish bread, friendship bread. And we made a lot of, we did okay with that. We used our eggs for that. And I'm being bitten by horseflies. Please bear with me. It reminds me of home. Reminds me of America. And so, anyway, we spent a good bit of time and a good bit of a few years doing the organic egg production. But when I did my market research, I was doing the business plan, and our largest competitors were Eggland's Best, which is available at Walmart. It used to be anyway. The big consumer stores, the big box stores, big super Walmarts, all that kind of stuff. They figured out a few years ago, prior to me getting involved in organics, that there was money to be made, and but there's a lot of hoops that you have to jump through if you're going to be an organic producer. Whether it's livestock, vegetables, doesn't matter. There's documentation has to be done. There's restrictions on what you can do, what you can't do, that kind of stuff. And so for people like Eggland's Best to compete, they sent their lawyers, paid good money, to have the regulations changed at the FDA in order to, our Department of Agriculture also, in order to change the restrictions on organic production. So, our farm was Adcote Acres, and our slogan was Home of the Happy Chicken, because there's a term used in organics, happy chicken or happy cow, and it means that the animal is provided enough space and has access to the sunshine, able to be on grass, that kind of stuff. And if the bird has 3 square feet, they're considered to be a happy chicken. They're on the ground, they can eat bugs, they can eat grass, that kind of stuff. 25% of what the birds were eating was actual pasture, was actual grass and bugs. And so, like I said, some of the bigger industries influenced the regulations. And so you've all heard the term cage free and free range. And our birds were semi free range because we had predators. We had a good bit of coyotes, foxes, and hawks. And so we had them out on pasture in individual coops that were movable every day. And they had a little pen that they had to stay in, but the pen did have a roof to it made out of chicken wire. There's nothing between them. Here, Jet, one of ours, I'm sure. And so they had access to the sunshine. They had access to bugs, and I find the sound of that jet to be reassuring. They were happy chickens. They were able to do what chickens are supposed to do. Well, that's free range, semi-free range, in order for them to be protected from predators, which I think is part of my responsibility. What some companies were doing was, if the bird could see outside, if they could see the grass, that's good enough. That's still that way. If they have access to going outside, weather permitting, which is a subjective term, that's considered free range. The cage-free stuff, they put them in a warehouse. You'll still have 20, 30,000 birds in one of those big bird warehouses. And they got 2 or 3 guys that walk through there every now and then. Every couple hours, they walk through and pick up the dead birds. It's a madhouse. The birds are, they're laying eggs on the ground. They're stressed. It's just craziness. But they're not allowed, as Joel Salatin would put it, they're not allowed to increase their chickenness, their birdness. And so that's who we competed against. Now, Eggland's was selling their eggs for right at $3 a dozen. We were selling ours for $5 a dozen. This is 2008. And so we fed them certified organic food, but we never had our property certified. And there were several reasons behind that. And one of them was our competitor, Eggland's Best, was certified. But what they did, I wouldn't consider to be organic. The way they treated the birds, I thought was not humane. Now, what we did, though, is that if you were my customer, and let's say I meet you at a farmer's market, I would invite you out to the farm. And if you came and you looked and saw what the birds are doing, saw where they feed, I'd show you the feed in the containers, show you the bag, certified organic, let you actually be the inspector. And then I'll give you a dozen eggs for free at $5. I needed the customer to be the inspector. I wanted to build the relationship between me and the customer, a farm-customer relationship. Because I couldn't agree that I needed to pay a third party to tell you, my customer, that I have integrity. I'd rather you come, see what I do. You'll see, talk to me for 5 minutes, you're going to figure out, and not only do I know what I'm doing, but I'm an honest guy. And so I needed to get rid of the third party inspection. That worked very well. Here in Ukraine, it's just different. In Europe's different. But even in the States, the certification process is intense, but there is the ability to compromise the system. And not all inspectors are in it for the same reason. There's a lot of people in this because there's money in it. And a lot of people like me that just do it because it seems like the right thing to do. Here in Europe, there's a bad reputation about fraud in organics. And there's several different certification entities. There's also large, supposedly organic producers, and they have influence. And they can change the rules, number one, what needs to be done, how it needs to be done. But they can also circumvent the rules. And there's difficulty with enforcement here. So I thought, well, if I can't trust the certifier, if I could buy my certification. Anybody can. What's the point in having certification? I would rather the customer just come and see me. Meet me, see what I do, come to the farm, I'll give you peppers, I'll give you salsa, whatever. But it's my way of having you be the inspector. There's a story, and I love the way it was described to me. There was a good bit of organic grain, soybean in this particular story, that was imported into the U.S., and it's like 80% of what was inspected had pesticide and herbicide in the soybean. It was not organic. And most of it came from Eastern Europe or a little bit farther to the east. And it all passed through Istanbul. And the way the gentleman described it to me, he said, yes, you get a boatload of soybean, you pass it through the straits in Turkey, the straits of the Mediterranean. It suddenly becomes organic just by passing through those straits. And that's not what I'm in the business for. I'm not trying to fool anybody. This is stuff I feed my family. This is what I feed me. And so it's quality, and it is organic. We don't use pesticides. We don't use herbicides. We only use fertilizers that we produce here on the farm. We do a lot of composting. I think you might be able to see a big pile right back here. We do a lot of leaf mold. I'll gather up cow poopy from out in the pasture that's in front of the place. And this is another thing, and this is me being transparent. The pasture where the cows feed, it's not my cows, it's individual owners, but they use this communal pasture out in front. And so I'll go out there and gather up the poopy. Nobody else does. And I'll use it, I'll compost it and use it. Well, these cows could be fed GMO feed during the winter to supplement their food. That means that I'm taking poopy from a non-certified organic cow who's been fed non-certified organic food. And I'm taking the poopy and I'm putting it on my tomatoes. On the ground, not on the tomato. And so that's not certifiable. That can't be certifiable because I don't own the animal. I can't prove whether the food is GMO or not. And so I just have to assume that it is because I can't prove that it's not. The pasture itself, it's community property. It belongs to the state. It doesn't belong to anybody. You can't certify it because I can't prove that no one has gone out there and sprayed some herbicide on that pasture. Nobody does. I don't own it. I can't prove it. Therefore, it cannot be considered to be organic. And the cows are eating the grass and then they're pooping and I'm gathering up the poop. It's still organic, but I can't prove it. I can't document it. Mm-hmm. And certifying an organic process is all about documentation. This conversation is about transparency. If you're cool with that, that's fine. If you're not cool with that, believe me, I understand. You don't have to prove anything to me. I've been on both sides of this thing. With all of that, if there's something I can do for you, if you're a restaurant, if you're an individual owner, or an individual consumer somewhere here in Ukraine, let me know. If you got any questions, ask. You want to come out, take a look at the farm? Feel free. You can come anytime. It's what I told the people in the States whenever I would have somebody come out and look at the farm. I'd say, look, if you want to do a soil sample, I'll pay for the soil sample. If you want an inspection done and you've got a lab someplace that you have, you believe is credible, I'll be more than happy to send a sample or whatever we need to do in order for you to be satisfied there's nothing added to what it is that we do. Okay. If you need peppers, if you need spices, if you need tomatoes, send me a message. I'll be more than happy to help you out. Slava Ukraine.